All right, welcome to Algebra 1. As you can tell, I'm streaming from home. My quarantine's not yet done. That's why we're doing the separate streams. Otherwise, I would have just walked in the room and started streaming from there. So I'll be doing this throughout the week. Let's go ahead and each get out a sheet of paper. You may also want to shoot a graph paper for the second half of this lesson. This lesson is a review lesson over slope, both how to solve for slope and how to use slope. This comes on the heels of me grading this quiz, which I will pass back on Monday when we're in class, and you guys can make corrections like normal. Real quick, if you have not yet typed your name in, if you already have, please don't do this. But if you have not yet typed your name in, I'm still missing 2 people from class. Make sure that you type your name in so I can mark you as here. But past that, yeah, I have everyone else. So I'm just missing 2 people who haven't chatted yet. And then I am teaching from here for obvious reasons. Well, I guess semi-obvious. Again, my quarantine's not done, so here we go. Today is going to be a review over slope and how to use it. So that's what we're going to do. This is not in your book, so you need to get out a blank sheet of paper, get out a sheet of graph paper for the second half. Although you could do this on graph paper if you wanted to. If you only have that laying around, that's fine. If you were missing a quiz, don't worry about it. We'll deal with that once we're all back together. Okay, I'm not worried about that right now. It'll say it's missing until I put a grade in. So that's just why that's saying that. Let's see here. All right, I think we're all set. I'm still missing a couple people, but they can throw their names in chat later on if they want to be counted anyway. And let's get started with slope and what that means for graphing. So that way, as we go through the next couple lessons, we can apply slope, and that's really what's going to happen here. But we need to make sure we have the core concept down first. So this is not an optional lesson. This is me going back and recovering something, both as review, because we've been out for about 2 weeks now, and as review due to your quiz, because when I graded that, we didn't do as well as we should have. Okay, so that's as much as I'm going to say on that, but we're going to get started here. YouTube is complaining about my audio bit rate. Can you guys just please let me know in chat if you can hear me? Of course, now it says I have excellent connection now that I acknowledge it. But anyway, all right. So just let me know if you can hear me in chat. No need to spam it. Just 1 or 2 people. All right. Let's go ahead and go right into this. I have here several problems that we're going to go through and do. And so the first one is we're to solve for the slope between -4, 2 and 5, 6. All right, so remember for slope, we talked about the slope having several definitions. The first of which is that slope, remember, is represented by the letter M. We can call it rise over run. That's how we remember it. Okay. I also talked about how it can be written as the change in y over the change in x, where the delta triangle symbol, if you will, means the change in. Okay, good. Looks like audio is coming through fine. YouTube was just whining. All right. And these are great for remembering it. The form we usually use, though, is m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. If you want a formula to memorize, it's this one. Okay, it's this formula here, and that's what we're going to use throughout to solve these problems. And so this first one, it doesn't matter which one is 0.1 and which one is 0.2 as long as you're consistent. So I'm going to name this 0.1 and this 0.2. And usually what I do is I just go in whatever order it was given to me. Okay, so I always pick the second point as 0.2, and then by doing that, I don't have to label it every time. Okay, so we're going to go through and plug in. The second y value is 6, and then we subtract the first y value, which is 2. Because remember, in every ordered pair, where'd my cursor go? Oh, I'm completely off the tablet. That'll do it. In every ordered pair, it's given in the order x, y. And so this would be x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, so that's where we're pulling that from. And let's get into this. I'm going to erase some of that so we don't have to waste it. All right, then x2, the second x is 5 minus the first x, which is -4. Okay, notice if there's a negative, I just put parentheses. It's not a big deal. Okay. Again, this is not in your textbook. You need to get out a blank sheet of paper. All right. So we have 6 minus 2, which is 4. And then 5 minus negative 4. If you guys remember from your sign numbers, we changed subtraction to addition and then changed the second sign. Well, now it's just addition. 5 plus 4 is 9. So our slope is 4 over 9. Oh, there we go. There's one more. Still missing one student. Make sure that if you have not yet typed your name into chat that you do so. But beyond that, we're going to continue on. Okay, so the answer to this first question is m equals 4 over 9, or the slope is equal to 4 over 9. In this next example, we're to solve for the slope between 5 and 5, negative 5, and 7, 3. And so again, I'm going to name the first one 0.1 and the second one 0.2. And so my slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And so y2 is 3. We're going to subtract the first y, which is negative 5. And then x2 is 7. And then we're going to subtract x1, which is 5. Okay, so negative of a negative becomes a positive. And so I end up with 8 over 2. Okay, which we can and should reduce down to 4. Okay, if we want it specifically as a fraction, we would just write 4 over 1. However, in this case, it's not necessary. I'll teach you guys when it is necessary later on. All right, moving on to the last one on the screen. Solve for the slope between 2, 1 and 3, negative 10. So this is 0.1, this is 0.2. Okay, so m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, notice I'm writing my formula every single time. It's almost like it's really helpful in remembering it. All right, y2 is negative 10 minus y1, which is 1. X2 is 3, and x1 is 2, so we're going to subtract that. Negative 10 minus 1, remember that's the same as negative 10 plus negative 1. Okay, just mentioning that. So we have the addition of like signs, so we add them together and keep the negative. So we have negative 11 over 3 minus 2, which is 1, or just simply negative 11. We will get back into the book, just because I see you guys in chat talking about it. We will get back into the book tomorrow. This is just a review lesson to make sure that we know what we're doing when we get it back into the book. Okay, I'm going to give you guys just a minute to write that down, and then we'll go on to the next slide. All right, let's go ahead and go on. If you didn't get it all, that's fine. Keep in mind this is a video, so you can always go back and rewatch it. You can pause. You can do whatever you need to do. I will just throw out there, though, you guys don't need to write the whole problem. Okay, you can just write, the 2 points and then the work, and then you guys will probably be fine. All right, solving for the slope between 3, 9 and 1, 8. So we'll call this 0.1, call this 0.2, because that's the order we were given them in. And so m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Whoops, I don't know why that double tap happened, but all right. So the second y value is 8 minus the first y value, which is 9. The second x value is 1 minus the first x value, which is 3. Okay. This is an example of 8 plus negative 9. Okay, so we have unlike signs, so we subtract, we get 1. The negative is bigger, so we keep it. 1 minus 3 can be written as 1 plus negative 3. Okay, we have different signs, so we subtract, which is 2, and we keep the bigger sign, so negative. So we have negative over negative, which is class positive. Okay, so we have 1 over 2. Okay, that's our slope. You have to take these things one step at a time. If you have a question about your homework, you need to email me privately because I can't really answer that here. Mostly because I don't remember. So just email me and I'll look into it. All right, solve for the slope between 7, 1 and negative 2, 3. All right, so we have 0.1, 0.2. All right, and we have m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right, y2 then is 3 minus the first y, which is 1. x2 is negative 2 minus the first one, which is 7. So 3 minus 1 is positive 2. Negative 2 minus 7, this is the same as negative 2 plus negative 7. Okay, so we're going to add those together. We get 9, and it's still negative. Okay, so this 2 over negative 9 becomes negative 2 over 9. The negative can just get moved in front of the entire fraction when there's only 1. All right, and for the third one on this, we have 1, we have 2. All right, and m is equal to y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. Okay, real quick note, if you guys have questions, please ask in chat as we go. Keep in mind there is a bit of delay, so if you have a question, please say which problem. I'm doing each problem in a different color on each screen, and then I'm pausing at the end. So if you have a problem, just say, hey, on the blue one, can you go through, and that's how we'll identify it, okay? So if you guys have questions, please feel free to ask. I'm going to give you guys time after this problem to finish copying down the screen and ask questions if you guys need to. But for the now, we're just going to continue on here. All right, and so we have 0, negative 2, and negative 6, 4. So the second y value is 4, and the first y value is negative 2. Okay, so we just put parentheses, not a problem. x2 is negative 6, x1 is 0. Okay, that's going to make the math real easy. Well, negative of a negative is a positive, so that's easy enough. Okay, remember we changed subtraction to addition, which forces us to change the next sign. 4 plus 2 is 6. Negative 6 minus 0 would be negative 6. We have something over itself, so it's 1, but it's something over itself with a positive and negative, so this is negative 1. Okay, and that's really what's going to happen there. All right, I'm going to pause briefly here. If you guys have a question, please feel free to ask in chat. Again, specify which color, and then we'll go on to the next screen in just about 10-20 seconds here. All right, then moving on to our last couple problems in this section. We need to solve for slope still. So just again, kind of doing several problems as we go through, just to make sure that we understand what we're doing. We have 0.1 and 0.2, doesn't matter which one's which, as long as you're consistent. I usually just go in order of what we were given. So we have y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1, and we're going to plug in. y2 is negative 4, y1 is negative 5, and so that's subtraction, so we put parentheses. X2 is negative 7 minus the x1, which is negative 8. So again, subtraction, so we put parentheses. Remember, subtraction must become addition, and then we change the sign of the second number. Okay, and that happens in both the top and the bottom. So we have essentially then negative 4 plus 5. We're going to subtract because the signs are different. And we get 1. Positive is bigger, so we keep it positive. Negative 7 plus 8. Again, that is a positive number because 8 is positive. The bigger number is positive. Let me explain that. And then we subtract and we get 1. 1 over 1 is 1. All right. Then moving on to the second one here. Solve for the slope between 9, 8 and 5, 1. Well, m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Oh goodness, that's an x, I promise. I think I accidentally made a Greek letter there, but moving on. y2 is 1 minus y1, which is 8. x2 is 5 minus x1, which is 9. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this as the addition of signed numbers. Okay, my signs are different, therefore we subtract and we get 7. The bigger sign is negative, so we will get negative 7. Our signed numbers are different, so we subtract. 9 minus 5 is 4. Bigger sign is negative, so that's negative, but we have a negative over negative, so it becomes positive 7 over 4. We do not make mixed numbers and slopes. We leave it improper. Okay, so that's a review of slope. I'm going to give you guys just a couple minutes here to look at that, and then we'll look at how to apply slope with graphing. All right, we're going to continue on to how to apply it with graphing. Couple quick notes when dealing with slope here. Make sure that you're paying attention to your signs. Make sure you have that down. If not, please go back and see chapter 1. Okay. And then we're going to deal with right now how to apply a slope with graphing. Okay. The main thing I want to really point out here. Oh, rats, I lost my train of thought. Completely derailed. Anyway, the main thing I'm going to point out here is this is kind of the application of what we're going to do here in this next section. So you really want to make sure you're paying attention to this. You really want to make sure that you're applying yourself to this. In case you couldn't tell from the screen, this is about where we want to break out graph paper. Let me see if I can increase the graph paper line thickness real quick. Hold on, because that's really thin. Nope. It's as good as it gets. Okay. Fine. All right, so hopefully that's readable. All right, so we're going to go ahead and graph this. I'm going to go ahead and create myself a line. And another more different line. Every time I do this to myself. This is the x-axis. This is the y-axis. This is the other end of the x-axis. And it would be super helpful if you weren't right there. Cool. All right, and there's the other part of the y-axis. All right, so first thing we're going to do is if we're told to graph a line using a given slope and a point, is the first thing we're going to do is we're going to plot the point. Okay, and so every tick mark on this is going to be 1. Okay, I'm going to just keep everything 1 because it's just easier. So we're going to start out at 2, negative 3. Remember, this is an xy pair, and so that means that we're going to go 2 in the x direction, y, or negative 3 in the y direction. So 2 in the x direction. Let me get, where's my laser pointer? There we go. Okay, so we start here at the origin. Okay, and then I'm going to go 1, 2. Hopefully you guys can see the grid okay. And then negative 3 in the y direction is down 3. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. And right there is going to be where I plot my point. Okay, at 2, negative 3. Now, that's this part taken care of. Now I need to use the slope of 1/2. Okay, remember slope, and this is where that alternative definition is equal to rise over run. Okay, remember rise would be your y direction over your x. Okay, you're changing y over your change in x. The reason that's important is because then your rise is your number on your top. And so in this case, since this one's 1/2, they're not always 1/2, but since this one's 1/2, that means my 1 is going to be applied in the y direction, my 2 is going to be applied in the x direction. So let me illustrate. Because my rise over 1 is 1/2, okay, I'm going to start here on my point, and I'm going to go up 1 because that's my rise. And then I'll move 2 to the right because that's my run. 1, 2. And so that's where my next point goes. Then if I want to add another point, I start at the new point and I go up 1, right 2, and plot a point there. And then if I want to keep going, I can up 1 over 2. And so on, but we have plenty of points for a line now. I feel like I missed a little. Undo. There we go. And then what we do is we extend this line all the way to the edges of the graph. Okay, that works. And then we put our arrows on it because this line does continue infinitely. It's not just whatever points we happen to graph. It's the entire line. Those points just land on the line. All right. And then I would label it, but we don't know its equation, so that's okay. All right, but that's where it's going to land. Notice that my next point down is down 1 over to the left 2. That's perfectly fine. And then up 1 over 2. That's also perfectly fine. Okay. Again, the end result needs to be positive. Let's move on to the next one. We're going to set up our graph again. If I was smart, I would have set up all these XY graphs ahead of time. But oh well. There we go. Sure, that's about right. I don't know. This is the x-axis. Just completely miss. Okay, this is the y-axis. All right. All right, so the first thing again is to start out with our point. We have the point 3, 4. So again, we're going to start here, and 3 is in the x direction, so 1, 2, 3. Then 4 is in the y direction, so 1, 2, 3, 4. That right there is going to be my point. All right, so that's the point 3, 4, and then I have a slope of 3. Well, slope is supposed to be rise over run, and I'm given 3. Well, that's helpful. Well, keep in mind that we can take any whole number and put it over 1 to get a fraction. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do. And so that means I'm going to go up 3 every time I move 1 over. Okay, so I can start out right where I was. And I can go up 1, 2, 3, and over 1. Then I could do it again, 1, 2, 3, over 1. And so on. But that's as far as I'm going to go because I'm out of screen. And then I'm going to connect the dots. And again, we just draw our arrows on the end. And this is the line with that slope through point 3, 4. On to the next one. We have the, well, first of all, let's get the thing set up. We were told we're starting at point -7, 8. Okay. And then we are going with a slope of -6 over 5. Hopefully this graph is big enough. Should be. If not, we'll find out. All right. So we have -7, 8. So let's do that first. -7 is in the x direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So right here, and then, or that's not where my point's going. And then up 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right there is where my first point is. Okay, so I'm going to plot a point there. I'm going to forget what that is and have to recount it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. All right, right there. That's a horrible circle, but anyway, there you go. There's our point. And then our slope is negative 6 over 5. And so either one could be negative because of the way fractions work, but I'm going to go down because that's going to make me stay in my graph. Okay, and that's a good thing. All right, so I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, and then I'm going to go right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, right here is where my point's going to go. Remember, if your slope is negative, only one of your values can be negative. Okay, so either your rise is negative or your run is negative. You can't do both or you've made a positive. Okay, so just mentioning that there. I'm going to count one more point to make sure that I hit it. So we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know I don't have out the pointer. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here it would be the next point. Okay, and then we're going to go through and graph it. So you just get out your ruler and make yourself a straight line. Okay, and I would put an arrow down here, but that's right where you're not helpful. Move. All right, there you go. All right, and that's that line. Yes, tomorrow's plan is to do 3.4. Tomorrow's lesson is 3.4. We haven't done that yet. We kept having wrenches thrown in it. So, oh, is that? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't even realize you were talking about that one in chat. Sorry. Yeah, homework 3.4 has not been assigned yet. The negative 6 over 5, that was just the problem. I can't type fractions in this program, though, so I had to handwrite it. No, we have not done 3.4 yet, guys. We got through 3.3. I may have started 3.4 at one point, but we've had so much break and everything, I'm just going to start it over tomorrow. All right, moving on. Again, hopefully that negative 6 over 5 thing is clear. This is just, let's see here. This right here was just part of my given. I just had to handwrite it because I can't type fractions. So, well, I can, just not in here. All right, moving on. Next one. We have a slope of 3/4, and then we have negative 2 and negative 2. The reason why I could type this fraction is because that fraction actually exists as a single character. So I was able to copy and paste that in, but the other one didn't. So anyway, moving on. Not relevant. Computer typing math. It's fun. All right, so we have the slope and a point. So we're going to go ahead and graph this here. So we have x, we have y. All right, we have negative 2, negative 2, so we're going to go left, 1, 2, and down, 1, 2. And so right there is going to be our point. Excuse me. All right. Sorry if that was loud. All right, so we have negative 2, negative 2. That's where we were starting from, and then let's go ahead and use our slope. So we are starting from here, and we're going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and then to the right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there is going to be our next point. Ah, goodness. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right here. Thank you. I tried to get away from the mic. I really did. Let's see here. All right, so I'm going to create a line. All right, and that's it. That's all we have to do. You start at the point, and then you move the rise over the run. All right, we got a few left, and then we're done for the day. All right, So setting up this one, notice I have a slope of 1/2 and I'm starting at the point 6, 0. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this thing set up. My lines may not be perfectly on the graph and things like that, but that's because I'm doing this on a computer screen, not, paper. So I'm doing my best here. All right, so we're starting at 6, 0, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we start on the x-axis because we were given 0 up and down. And then I'm given the slope 1/2. Again, that's rise over run, so I'm going to go up 1 to the right 2. And there's my next point. Go up 1 to the right 2 and get the next point if I want. Okay? And then at that point, we just connect the dots. And there's our line. Hopefully this is making sense. We only have a couple left, so let's go ahead and go through them, and then we'll get into what else is going on. All right. Again, we're just going to start. We're starting at -4, -1. So again, we're going to count backward 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, down 1. Okay, and then we have a slope of -2. Again, that means we have a slope of -2 over 1. So I'm going to go down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1. Okay, again, you're only allowed to have one negative. Okay, so otherwise you accidentally make a positive. I missed. Okay, and there's that line. So hopefully this is making sense. You just have to make sure you plot your point correctly. You have to make sure you go through and use your slope correctly, so that way everything goes in the right order. All right, this next one should be the last one. Yep, that's my last page. All right, so one last time, let's go through this. Again, set up our graph. That one definitely missed. Sure, that's close enough. Oh, man. Just to cover it, that -8 over 9 is part of the original problem. Again, just can't type fractions. So that's where that's coming from. All right, so we have -5, 4. So let's go ahead and go there. So we're going to go left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because that's negative. And then up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the y direction. And that's where we'll plot our point. If I could consistently get the tools to switch without moving my cursor, I would. But anyway, moving on. All right, we have -8 over 9. So that's kind of a large slope, but let's just go ahead and do it. All right, so -8, we're going to make our, I tend to write my negatives in the numerator. It doesn't matter. I could just easily make the run negative and move to the left and up. That would do the same thing. However, I want to move down and to the right because then I'll stay on my graph. Okay, so we talked about that before, that it's on your cheat sheet. I'm not getting into that in here. But we're going to go down 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, or goodness. Started doing music counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so here we are, and then we're going to move to the right 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So right here, I'm going to mark it with my finger so I don't have to count it again, is our other point. Okay, and then we just connect the dots. I'm only going to plot those two. Hate it when that happens. I'm working on it. There we go. And that's it. Okay, so that is a review of slope, how to calculate it, and how to use it with graphing. We're going to talk about that more tomorrow when we talk about slope-intercept form in 3.4. I briefly started 3.4, I think, at one point right before the break, but I never had a chance to finish it. So we're just going to start it over, make sure we get it, and then move on to the application in 3.5. I just see the question in chat. I'm going to get caught up with digital grading, Lord willing, today or tomorrow. The reason why I wasn't is yesterday when I went through to catch up my grading, I realized I forgot my pen for my iPad, so I couldn't grade anything digitally. So I'm going to be working on that over today and tomorrow. My plan was to get all that done before the break, and like all I had left was pre-algebra and algebra 1 for grading, and then I couldn't go into work, and all my stuff was at work. So that's why that's still behind. I am working on it. I will get it done at some point here in the near future. So don't worry about anything that says missing at the moment. You should know whether or not you've turned it in. And past that, if there's still a problem, say come Monday, then come talk to me and we'll figure it out. Okay? So, but for now, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to you guys because class ends in essentially 3 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and just call it there. If this will work. There we go. And so what'll happen is I'll start a new stream. You guys have what class next? So you guys have Spanish 1. Actually, I don't know if you guys have Spanish today. I will find out if you guys, you know what? Either way, I'll just start a stream and tell them to talk to you guys. I'll just do that. All right. I will see you guys later. Have a good day. No, there's no homework. That question just snuck right in there. No, there's no homework. It's Wednesday. That's it. It was a review. The whole point is so that way tomorrow we can jump in. We all know what we're talking about with slope, and then we can deal with slope-intercept form. So that was the entire point there. All right. Past that, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Well, you'll see me. I won't see you. Whatever. Really quickly, for those of you still around, there is no Spanish from what I was just told. If you have been given other information about how to log into Spanish or something like that, please follow those instructions. But at this point, we're just going to end the stream and I'm not going to restart a new one. So if you guys have, I know a couple people have already left chat. So if you'll please just, if you notice, I don't know what else to say there. There's no Spanish. So this will be the last stream of the day for you guys. All right. I'll see you guys later.